Hello and welcome. I am SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President Ben Whitehair. Thank you all so much for joining us for another SAG-AFTRA program on YouTube. To stay current with all of our video events, we invite you to subscribe to this channel, which you can go ahead and do right now. Today, as always, we are joined by American Sign Language interpreters Lindsay Gibbons and Mara Bassani Santa Maria. As a reminder, today's program is being recorded, so you can watch the replay right here on SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel, along with a bunch of other great content. Today, the PTEOE, President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement, brings you a special presentation on Performers with Disabilities Know Your Rights on Set. Today's program is an extension of SAG-AFTRA's commitment to increasing employment opportunities and improving working conditions for performers with disabilities in the entertainment industry. We are delighted to have SAG-AFTRA National Performers with Disabilities Committee Chair Anita Hollander with us. Anita is an award-winning artist who has appeared in film, television, and on the theatrical stage and performed all over the world. In her 50-year career, Anita has performed as an actor, singer, composer, lyricist, director, and producer. She is also a teacher with an unbridled passion for achieving equality within the entertainment industry for performers with disabilities. Anita, thank you so much for being here and for all of the work you do.
Thanks, Ben. And thank you for tuning into this vital PTEOE presentation. As National Chair of SAG-AFTRA Performers with Disabilities, or PWD Committee, I've been fighting for decades to help us to get to where we are today, with more performers with disabilities working than ever before in our industry. It's more important now than ever to know our rights, whether in the audition process, on the set, or in the studio, in fittings and hair and makeup, or in dressing rooms and holding areas. And it's great to know our union has our backs, as well as our federal laws having our best interests in mind. So many questions come up to make sure our reasonable accommodations are met and that the casting process includes us. In the past few years, our employment in TV series, commercials, film, and live theater has at least tripled, and new opportunities are coming in every day for PWDs across the diversity spectrum. As we embrace our rich intersectional disabled community, not to mention our aging population as well, this presentation will be invaluable for a growing number of members in our union population. And if you are watching this as a non-disabled ally, we welcome you. In the words of our New York PWD Chair, Christine Bruno, we can all be ambassadors for each other. So, again, thank you, Ben, and thank you to the PTEOE for this much needed presentation, Performers with Disabilities Know Your Rights on Set. I am delighted to be co-hosting today with you. Many of you with disabilities watching today's PTEOE may be wondering what your basic rights are and what to do when you see or experience discrimination. Here to walk us through the basics is SAG-AFTRA Executive Director, Equity and Inclusion, Franklin Sablan. Franklin is an HR professional with a long and distinguished career and has spent over 20 years helping employees at some of the most prestigious organizations and companies achieve their career goals by ensuring they have a safe working environment free of all types of discrimination. Franklin, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anita, for that introduction. And hello, Ben. It's great to be here. Can we have the slide deck up, please? And we can move forward with our presentation. So let's begin here with SAG-AFTRA's Equity and Inclusion Department. We are committed to ensuring an inclusive, safe working environment for all members and advancing equity in the workplace. In collaboration with staff committees and the National Board, the department addresses systems that cultivate bias and inequities to ensure that every member is treated with dignity and respect, and that all members have an equal opportunity to secure fairly compensated work. The Equity, Inclusion, Policy and Compliance team manages matters involving discrimination and sexual harassment, and is committed to ensuring safe and equitable workplaces for our members. The Policy and Compliance team is led by Christy Doyle, our Senior Director of Policy and Compliance, Christy has years of experience handling EEO compliance and was an employment litigator prior to working with SAG-AFTRA. Now, as we look into civil rights laws across our nation with regards to what protects persons with disabilities, we're looking at the Americans with Disabilities Act, Telecommunications Act, the Fair Housing Act, Air Carrier Access Act, Voting Accessibility for the Elderly and Handicapped Act, National Voter Registration Act, Civil Rights of Institutionalized Persons Act, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Rehabilitation Act, and Architectural Barriers Act. Now, today we're going to cover the Americans with Disabilities Act, as this is utilized by our members in the courses of their employment. So let's dive in here. The ADA is a civil rights law. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability, that includes protections from unlawful segregation and discrimination. The ADA affords similar protections against discrimination as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which made discrimination based on race, religion, sex, national origin, and other characteristics illegal, and later sexual orientation and gender identity. The ADA also prohibits discrimination in employment, public services and accommodations, and telecommunications. The ADA requires employers to make reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities and imposes accessibility requirements. The ADA prohibits an employer from retaliating against applicants or employees for asserting their rights under the ADA. The ADA also makes it unlawful to discriminate against a person based on that person's association with a person with the disability. The association does not have to be a family association. And the ADA applies to employers with 15 or more employees. And it is a law of equal opportunity and was passed to ensure people with disabilities were completely integrated in civic life. Now we're going to look at the ADA timeline. In 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed into law the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, which prohibits private employers and state and local governments, unions, and employment agencies from discriminating against people with disabilities in employment. Now in 2008, President George W. Bush signs into law the Americans with Disabilities Act Amendments Act of 2008. It's also known as ADAAA. The Act makes important changes to the definition of the term disability that make it easier for a person to establish that he or she has a medical condition covered by the ADA as amended. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is the federal government agency that enforces the sections of the ADA that prohibit employment discrimination. Information on how to file charges of employment discrimination and time limits for filing a charge can be found on the EEOC website. You can go to eeoc.gov for more information. Now, as we cover the ADA's relationships to other laws, be mindful that the ADA does not override any other laws, federal, state, or local, that provide equal or greater protections or remedies for people with disabilities. If an employer is covered by state or local law and by the ADA, the employer must comply with both laws. The part of the law that provides greater protection for the individual prevails. Now, this is very important, especially if you work in certain states. Some states have more laws or have specific laws that protect people with disabilities. So my recommendation, if you are living in certain states, is do your research to take a look at some of the laws that you may have protections with at the state that you reside or work in. Now we're going to cover employer responsibilities. Be very mindful that employers have an obligation to adhere to federal laws, state laws, rules, regulations, and policies which prohibit disability discrimination and harassment in the workplace. The ADA makes it unlawful to discriminate in employment-related activities. Now, employment discrimination generally exists where an employer treats
an applicant or employee less favorable merely because of a person's race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, disability status as a protected veteran. It may also occur if an employer disciplines, terminates, or takes unfavorable actions against an employee or job applicant for discussing, disclosing, or asking about pay. Employment discrimination can be against a single person or a group. Now, you have the right to work in an environment free of discrimination. You cannot be denied employment, harassed, demoted, terminated, paid less, or treated less favorably because of your race, your color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, disability, or status as a protected veteran. You also have the right to discuss, disclose, or inquire about your pay, the pay of your coworkers, and the pay or offered to job applicants. Now we're going to cover our SAG-AFTRA contract protections. I'm going to cover two today, which is commercials and TV theatrical. But be very mindful that most of our contracts, including our broadcasting contracts, also have a lot of clauses as it relates to anti-discrimination language on those contracts. So I'm going to cover the commercials contracts here. As it is stipulated on the contract with contract protections, discrimination and harassment. There's zero tolerance of harassment or discrimination. It also protects our members on unlawful retaliation or reprisal will not be tolerated. Performers who are deaf, hard of hearing, blind, or visually impaired, it is a responsibility for them to provide qualified interpreters certified in American Sign Language or oral interpretation. Provide the use of closed captioning if possible as an alternative to an interpreter. Make mutually acceptable provisions to make script available to performers who are blind or visually impaired in advance of auditions. Be very mindful that every effort will be made to use diverse casts and corresponding stunt performer doubles. Now, for more information, you can access the contracts at our website at sagaftra.org under contracts and industry resources, my apologies. And additional contract provisions as it relates to commercial, deaf and hard of hearing and visually impaired performers. One, for any role in which a deaf or hard of hearing performer is sought or cast, producer shall provide during audition and throughout the engagement, interpreters certified and qualified in American Sign Language or oral interpretation. Producer shall provide upon performer's requests made to a producer no less than 24 hours in advance of the audition or at any time of audition notice, whichever is later, the use of closed captioning, if possible, as an alternative to an interpreter. Two, with regard to performers who are blind or visually impaired, producer and such performers shall make mutually acceptable provisions to make the script available to the performer in advance of auditions. This is the 2022-2025 Commercials Memorandum of Understanding. Now, I want to cover the policy of non-discrimination and affirmative action diversity. The producer shall cast performers in accordance with the above policy in all types of roles, having due regard for the requirements of and suitability for the role so that, for example, the American scene may be portrayed realistically. To that end, due to regard shall be given to women, minorities, performers with disabilities, and seniors in all aspects of society. And the contract stipulates that the parties agree that producers shall retain its exclusive creative prerogatives in furtherance of the foregoing. Producers shall make good faith efforts to seek out and provide audition opportunities for women, minorities, performers with disabilities, and seniors. C, consistent with the foregoing, best efforts shall be made to seek out and include women, minorities, performers with disabilities, and seniors in casting of commercials, thereby creating fair, equal, and non-stereotype employment opportunities. When a role being cast depicts a person with a specific disability, producer agrees to include the fact in casting specifications and at the same time to notify the union of such specifications so that the performers with the same disability may be informed and given the opportunity to audition for the role starting with the first audition. Now, this is 2016 commercials contract. Now we're going to go into TV theatrical. The TV theatrical has a policy of non-discrimination and diversity, provide a working environment that is free from unlawful discrimination and harassment, cast in all types of roles so that American scene is portrayed realistically. Every effort shall be made to include performers with disabilities defined as by the ADA. casting specifications to enhance the opportunity for performers with similar disabilities to audition for the role. Stunt coordinators cast qualified performers with physical disabilities. Now, with the TV theatrical continued policy of non-discrimination and diversity, there will be no pre-employment inquiries as to the performer's disability, except such lawful inquiries as may relate to the ability of the performer to fulfill the requirements of the engagement, subject to the limitations imposed on such inquiries by the Americans with Disabilities Act. Dressing rooms, transportation, lodging, and access to the casting process apply to performers with disabilities as well. Reasonable accommodations for hearing impaired and or visually impaired performers during interviews, auditions, and any engagement. Now, these are the contract protections I just covered as it relates to our commercials and TV theatrical. Now we're going to go into reporting discrimination. Confidential reporting, please be very mindful that any reporting that you submit to our department is confidential. If you believe you have been subject to unlawful disability discrimination or harassment, you can file a report with SAG-AFTRA. We will review each of these options and process in detail in the following slides. You may also contact Equity and Inclusion for questions about possible disability accommodations in the workplace or the application process. We can assist with other questions regarding the process. So here are the steps. Contact the Equity and Inclusion Department. Members reporting harassment or discrimination, email diversity@sagaftra.org or call 855-SAG-AFTRA. That is 855-724-2387 and press 1. For members reporting sexual harassment or sexual assault, go to sagaftrasafeplace.org or call 855-SAG-AFTRA. That is 855-724-2387 and press 1. After hours on-set emergencies, members can call 844-SAFER-SET. That is 844-724-2387 and press 1. Now, to report a discrimination complaint, members must complete and return a complaint questionnaire form to the Equity and Inclusion Department at diversity@sagaftra.org. Again, that's diversity@sagaftra.org. Find this form and helpful information about how to file a discrimination complaint at sagaftra.org membership benefits, equity, and inclusion. Again, that's sagaftra.org under membership benefits, under equity and inclusion. Now, if a member wants to file a report of discrimination, the following is the process of filing a formal report with SAG-AFTRA. The member always has an absolute right under the contract to file a complaint with the production themselves. The union can't interfere with that right. If a member chooses to complete the complaint questionnaire, the Equity, Inclusion, Policy, and Compliance staff will review the details of your complaint in order to determine whether or not SAG-AFTRA should file a claim on your behalf. If filing a claim is determined to be the most appropriate course of action, SAG-AFTRA will send the producer a formal complaint along with a copy of our policy regarding discrimination and harassment. The complaint will require that the company investigate the complaint and take immediate action to remedy any inappropriate conduct. Upon completion of its investigation, the producer is required to provide SAG-AFTRA with a response as to the results of the investigation and any action taken to remedy the misconduct. That also includes suspension or other form of discipline against the person who engaged in the misconduct. We will then provide you, the member, with a formal notice of the results and findings of the investigation and discuss with you the actions if taken, if any. Now, do you believe you are subject to unlawful discrimination at work or not provided with reasonable accommodations? The step for this process is we first report the situation to your employer, the production in writing, if possible. Or if you need assistance with the process, please contact the union at diversity@sagaftra.org. Always know we are here to help and protect you. Now, what happens if you are not satisfied with the employer's response? If the employer fails to respond, the union can provide assistance. In a situation where the employer conducts an investigation and you are not satisfied with the outcome, the union can provide you with additional resources, including how to file a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, as discussed earlier, the EEOC. All options available to you if subject to unlawful discrimination should consult an attorney to pursue various options as well. The union is limited in assistance it may provide with help you file your complaint and act as a resource for understanding company policies and procedures. We do not provide legal advice and we can't control outcomes of workplace investigations. Now we're going to go into the importance of data, and I wanted to share these statistics with you. 61 million people in the US have a disability. 1 in 4 adults have a disability. Now, the importance of that information, it ties back into the demographic survey. So as part of our equity and inclusion initiatives, we encourage our members to complete their demographic survey. We want to understand our membership population. So when you have time, please log into your membership profile and complete the demographic survey. It helps us understand the demographics of our membership. It is very critical for negotiations and providing programming and services that are meaningful, relevant, and accurately reflected. And accurately reflect the makeup of SAG-AFTRA's membership. Completing the survey is simple, easy, and confidential. Now, before we end this presentation, I wanted to close it pretty much with our top 3 things to keep in mind from an equity and inclusion perspective and your rights in the workplace. If you see something wrong, tell your union. Use discretion, and if you can say something on the spot, do so or report it ASAP to the union. You can always report things anonymously. It is not what you are, it's what you can play. Whether on a breakdown, in an audition, or on the job, the criteria should always be what your professional qualifications are and not what your personal identification might be. Always keep records, names, dates, locations, including your earnings, pay stubs, and vouchers. Everything. So now it's time for the questions. I'll turn it back over to you, Ben, in regards to the questions our members may have. Thank you.
Absolutely. I so appreciate this presentation, incredibly important and so helpful. So questions from members. First question, what can I expect after my complaint is filed with my employer? What is the process? What can I expect?
Definitely, that's a great question. So what usually happens when a member files a complaint with their employer is responsible to respond, review that complaint, investigate it thoroughly. They may ask for additional names with regards to the issue of the complaint, review it, investigate it, and come out with an outcome. Whether it's substantiated or not, the member should then be given information with regards to that outcome of the investigation. If there needs to be any remedial action that needs to be taken based off of the complaint, the employer is responsible to ensure that they take those appropriate actions. In most cases, our department is engaged whenever a member files a complaint directly with their employer. And again, we're always available to that member if they have any questions throughout the process so that we can provide that to them.
Got it. Super helpful. Next question, a member asks, will SAG-AFTRA be my lawyer for a discrimination complaint?
We do not provide any legal services to our member. We provide a lot of resources to our members. We don't act as the litigator, or we don't act as the attorney for our members. So be very mindful of that. We encourage our members, if there's any issues or questions, to consult with a personal attorney. But again, we are always here to assist throughout that process to ensure that our members know what their rights are and that they're comfortable throughout this process.
Got it. So similar question to that end, will E&I staff talk to me about my experience and advise me of the different options that I have available to me?
Oh, most definitely. That's what we're here for. So our department definitely works with our members. Whenever members call in, whenever they email us, we have that conversation with them openly hear them with empathy and understanding, so that we can ensure that we understand exactly what their needs are as it relates to the complaints in the workplace. And then we would provide our expertise to them and resources again. So we would open up that conversation to understand fully what the member is going through.
Yeah. And what I hear you saying is that members can also, if they're not sure, hey, I don't know what to do, I don't know what my options are before anything happens, can you walk me through my options? That's a safe place to call is the union to get a sense of what their options are.
Most definitely. And that's our purpose. We want to ensure that our members are comfortable and that they feel heard whenever they go through issues like this. We do know that it's very sensitive and there's a lot of pressure that they may be going through as they're going through this process. So we do our due diligence and our best to ensure that they're in a level of being comfortable with the department and our staff.
Yeah, I just personally add one thing, as a member myself, I've certainly had the opportunity to work with a lot of staff on things like this that are sensitive. And what I keep urging my fellow members that they may not know is that SAG-AFTRA staff gets it. They are navigating these kinds of things every day. They understand what it means to be on set. They understand what it means that, the challenges of reporting things, like you have not just an empathetic ear for these sensitive issues we're talking about, but a deep understanding of how the industry works, how our jobs work. Like the staff does absolutely understand. So it's a great, at least starting point to figure out what your options are. Last question. Member asks, when I make a report of disability discrimination to SAG-AFTRA, who are the parties that are involved or contacted?
When you send the complaint into our department, it definitely is, it's within the team, it's confidential. And I want to make sure I point that out, it's definitely confidential. And our goal and our job is to ensure that we protect our members' privacy and their confidentiality. So in any particular case, if a case comes in and the member wants to remain anonymous or have their name not put into the complaint, we definitely would respect that. But there are some cases where an investigation needs to be conducted. And therefore, in order for them to do an effective investigation in the workplace, sometimes we may have to release the name, but we would never release the name unless we actually get a consent from the member who actually filed the complaint. So it's a work in progress. We're definitely here to work hand in hand with our members when they go through these issues. We would never release any confidential information and we would guide them through that process.
I just want to reiterate what you just said, Franklin, which I think is so important because there are lots of issues that are so sensitive and everything you're talking about today can be really hard. And just to reiterate, you can call the union and they are not going to release information or take steps that are going to identify you without your consent. So even if you choose not to consent to moving forward that way, it's still helpful so the union can know and be aware. I've heard stories over the years where, a performer thinks that they're the only one being affected, and it turns out that the union may have received several complaints about something, and now all of a sudden there are other ways that they can take action that will still honor whatever level of anonymity that each individual member wants. So please do reach out. I'm very confident you will have not just an empathetic ear, but people who are able to support you in moving forward. Franklin, thank you so much. That is all the time we have for discussion today, but hopefully all of you watching will go to the equity and inclusion page on sagaftra.org to learn more about the resources available to performers with disabilities, and that you will speak up when you see discrimination happening. The importance of allyship cannot be overstated. Franklin, seriously, thank you for being here today, and a special thanks to Anita for co-hosting this program with me. As a reminder to everyone watching, this presentation is available as a replay right here on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it anytime. On behalf of the entire team here at SAG-AFTRA, we would like to thank you for watching, with a special shout out to our regular viewers who've been tuning in each week for our PTEOE President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement live streams. If you have ideas for topics you would like to see us cover, please email us pteoe@sagaftra.org. And before we go, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel to get updates on all of the content we are posting. Thank you so much and have a great day.